Good morning, class. Today we're going to continue reading chapter 17, or we're going to start at chapter 17 of Malala, My Story of Standing Up for Girls' Rights. Messages from around the world. One day I received a bag of cards. It was around the time of Eid-ul-Adha, or Big Eid, one of the holiest of Muslim holidays. So I thought, how nice. Friends have sent me cards for Eid. But how did they know where I was, I wondered. Then I noticed the postage dates. October 16th, October 17th. These were the days soon after the shooting. These cards had nothing to do with Eid. They were from people all over the world wishing me a speedy recovery. Many were from children. I was astonished at how many cards there were. There's a picture. And she's at the hospital and she's getting all these cards from all over the world. Isn't that awesome? I learned that there were 8,000 cards and letters for me. Some were addressed simply Malala, Birmingham Hospital. One was addressed Girl Shot in the Head, Birmingham. There were parcels too. Parcels are big bags full of cards. Boxes of chocolate and teddy bears of every size. Most precious of all, perhaps, was a parcel sent by the children of Benazir Bhutto. I don't know if I'm saying these words right. Inside were 2 scarves that had belonged to their mother, who was the first female prime minister in the Islamic world and one of my biggest role models. Apparently, many people had tried to visit me, journalists, celebrities, and a number of politicians. But the hospital had kept them away so I could heal in private. But now I saw that famous actors and singers had tweeted about me and had wished me well on Facebook. It was exciting, overwhelming, and because my brain was still not working right, confusing. How did these celebrities even know who I was? While I was on the windowless room, unaware of what was happening in the outside world, the outside world knew exactly what had happened to me. Remember, she lost a lot of her memory. She couldn't remember. So she's saying everybody knew what had happened to her, but she didn't even know what had happened to her. I learned that more than 200 journalists from around the world had come to the hospital to see me, except for that one day when I tried to watch the BBC. I hadn't seen the news since I had arrived, but now I understood. I was the news. How amazing! While I was feeling so alone in the hospital, wondering about my family, worrying about how we would pay for my care, people from all over the world were worrying about me. I didn't feel so lonely anymore. I couldn't wait to get home to tell Moniba about the celebrities. In December, after nearly 2 months inside hospitals, I was finally permitted my first trip outside to the Birmingham Botanical Gardens. My mother and I went with 2 nurses. My father didn't go. He had become so recognizable from TV, he was afraid he would attract cameras. On the way, I sat in the back seat of the car, turning my head from side to side, overjoyed to take in everything in a country that was brand new to me. I wasn't used to the harsh wind and crisp, cold air, but the plants, they were gorgeous and familiar. This one in my valley too, I told one of the nurses. This one too. My mother was so excited she called my father for the first time, she said. I am happy. By this time, my family was living in an apartment in a tall tower in Birmingham and visiting me every day. And in a sure sign that life was getting back to normal, my brothers were driving me crazy. After about a day of treating me like a China doll, they were back to being annoying. What is all this fuss over Malala? Said Atal. I have seen her. She survived. Leave those 2 at home, I begged my parents. They do nothing but make noise and try to take the gifts I've received. I was finally able to read again, and my language and memory started to come back too. Though I still had a hard time remembering some of my friends' names, I was making steady improvements and my spirits got better every day. Also that month, I had my first visitor from outside the family, Asif Ali Zardari, the president of Pakistan. The hospital was afraid that the visit would attract too much attention from reporters, but it was an essential one. Mr. Zardari had pledged that the government would cover all my medical costs. I was bundled up in a purple parka and snuck out of the building through the staff exit. We drove right past a flock of journalists and photographers, and they didn't even notice. It was like something out of a spy novel. We were driven to some kind of office, and while we waited, Atal, Kushal, and I played a computer game called Elf Bowling. This was my first time playing it, and I still beat both of them. More proof that the old Malala was back. When the president came in, he laid a hand on my head, a gesture of respect in my country. He told us that he had arranged for my father to have a job in Birmingham. Everything would be fine, he said. My job was to concentrate on my recovery. Afterward, Mr. Zardari and I said I was a remarkable girl and a credit to Pakistan. It was an amazing day. The leader of my country was treating me with respect, and all my worries about money were lifted. But, oh, it was a bittersweet day too, because I understood we would not be going home for a long time. Chapter 18, Miracles. Finally, I was released from the hospital, and 2013 was off to a happy start. So it was the beginning of a new year of 2013. It was so good to be home with my family, even though this home was an apartment in a tall building with an elevator. I would have given anything to really be home. But what mattered most was that my family was finally together again. I tried to build up strength by walking in the brisk air, but I still couldn't hear properly, so I was constantly turning this way and that to see what was going on. A simple trip to the grocery store could be overwhelming and fascinating. In Birmingham's cafes, we saw men and women talking together in a way that would be unimaginable in SWAT. And the women wore tiny shorts, bare legs, and high heels, even in winter. Are their legs made of iron so they don't feel the cold? Asked my mother. So remember, in her country, everybody covers up. Women are not allowed to show any skin, so this is very new for her. I missed home terribly. I missed my school friends. I missed the mountains, the waterfall, the beautiful Swat River, and the lush green fields. So it came as hard news when I found out that some people in Pakistan were critical of me. People who questioned our family's honesty. People who even said my father had shot me as a stunt so we could live overseas in luxury. That's horrible. The other news was from school over Skype. Moniba told me that she missed me and how no other girl could take my place in her heart. She also told me that Shazia and Kanai were recovered and back in school. And she told me my friends were still saving a seat for me in class. Oh, by the way, she said, you scored a 100% on your Pakistani studies exam. That was the test I had taken the morning of the shooting. And here is Malala talking to her friend Moniba, kind of like what we do every morning. I had many surgeries, including one to improve my hearing. A tiny electronic hearing aid was placed behind my ear. A few weeks after that, I was fitted with the receiver, and then I heard a tiny beep. Then another. Then came the sound of the doctor's office. At first, everyone sounded like a robot, but soon my hearing got better. How great God is. He has given us eyes to see the beauty of the world, hands to touch it, a nose to experience all its fragrance, and a heart to appreciate it all. But we don't realize how miraculous our senses are until we lose one. It's true. We don't appreciate what we have until we lose it. Kind of like going to school right now. The return of my hearing was just one miracle. A Talib had fired 3 shots at point-blank range at 3 girls in the school bus, and none of us were killed. One person had tried to silence me, and millions spoke out. Those were miracles too. Chapter 19, the new place. This new place. We have settled now into Birmingham life in a tidy brick house on a tree-lined street. It is lovely, calm and too quiet. No children play cricket in the alleys. No women sit on the back of the porch and have a good gossip. But when we go for a walk in the main shopping district in Birmingham, I am amazed by the different kinds of people. Freckle-faced boys in soccer jerseys, men in business suits and women in business suits, conservative Muslim women in burqas, and young Muslim women in jeans and headscarves. Sometimes people ask me to take pictures with me. I don't mind. I understand that these are the same people who gave me support when I needed it, and who give me courage now to keep going. It's odd to be so well known, but to be lonely at the same time. At my new school, I wear British schoolgirls' uniforms, a green sweater, striped button-down shirt, tights, and a blue skirt. A handful of Muslim girls in my class wear their skirts down to their ankles as I do. Other girls roll their skirts up even shorter as soon as they arrive at school. I think, what an interesting country this is, where some girls are free to cover their bodies and others are free not to, so they have a choice. Here, we also have projectors and laptops, videos and Wi-Fi, and classes such as music, art, and computer science, and even cooking, which I dislike. Sometimes I wish I were back home in Pakistan, where school was just a teacher and a chalkboard. Interesting. Other times, I feel sad that my old friends don't have all this fancy technology and these special classes. But then I remember that they have what I don't: one another. My new schoolmates and I don't always get one another's jokes, and I cannot be as free or as cheeky as they can. I am a good girl. I always have been. But now I tell myself I must take extra care with what I say and do. A lot of people are counting on me. In Pakistan, I was just Malala. Here, at least at the beginning, I was a Malala, the girl who was shot by the Taliban. I wanted to just be Malala again, a normal girl. Yes, I have seen and experienced things that my new friends couldn't even imagine. But as time went on, I realized they have experiences I can't imagine. That's what I'm finding, is that we have much more in common than we have different. And every day we learn something new from one another. Every day I feel a little bit more like plain old Malala, just another girl in the class. Until we can go home to Pakistan, we can bring it to us. When friends and family come to visit, my mother is happiest with extra chairs around the table. As her happiness grows, so does her willingness to try new things. She has begun to learn English again. She has even allowed herself to be photographed. My father may not be a school principal anymore, but he still goes to conferences on girls' education and speaks for peace. At first, it was strange to him that people wanted to hear from him because of me, and not the other way around. Malala used to be known as my daughter, he says, but I am proud to say that I am now known as Malala's father. My father, meanwhile, was taking on a new responsibility at home. I teased him that while he and I are busy speaking about women's rights, my mother is still doing the cooking and cleaning. Now he cooks every morning. It's the same thing every time: fried eggs. His cooking may not be full of flavor, but it is full of love. Sounds like there's a lot of changes going on. As the first anniversary of the shooting approached, the journalists began to interview me. I discovered that I was not nearly as upset as some of them were about what happened to me. I guess I see my situation differently. If you tell yourself, Malala, you can never go home because you are the target of the Taliban, you would just keep suffering. I look at it this way: I can see, I can hear, I can talk. I am living the life God wants for me. The journalist also asks if I am afraid. I say no. And that is true. I am frustrated when journalists want to focus on the attack rather than on my fight for girls' education. I understand it, but in my mind, out of the violence and tragedy came opportunity. That is a really powerful sentence. I'm going to read it again. Out of the violence and tragedy came opportunity. What opportunities are you seeing? I never forget that opportunity, especially when I think about the organization that I started to help other kids, Malala Fund, and remember all the good it has done and will do. We are helping girls in SWAT who have no education because they are forced to work. We are helping the refugee children all over the world. It's our duty to help these children get food, shelter, and an education, and we will. I think of the world as a family. When one of us is suffering, we must all pitch in and help. Because when people say that they support me, they are really saying they support girls' education. So yes, the Taliban shot me, but they can only shoot a body. They cannot kill my beliefs, and they cannot stop my campaign to see every child in school. I am still here for a reason, and it is to use my life to help people. There is only one more chapter left, so I'm going to go ahead and finish it. Sorry, this is a really long video. Chapter 20, One Girl Among Many. For my 16th birthday, I was given the most extraordinary gift. I was invited to speak at the United Nations in New York City. On that day, July 20th, 2013, which the UN had named Malala Day, 400 people would be in attendance, high-ranking officials from all over the world, as well as ordinary children like me. It would be so different from the fearful birthdays I had spent in Pakistan not long ago. My whole family traveled to New York. We saw Annie on Broadway, and we stayed in a hotel where they bring pizza to your room on a silver tray. I liked the hustle and bustle of New York, compared with sleepy Birmingham, and I felt as if the city were my old friend after seeing it on Ugly Betty. I couldn't wait to tell Muniba. America is a very nice place, but New York was just as loud and crowded as other cities I've seen, and its honking horns and people rushing here and there. It didn't seem possible that I was going to address the United Nations. I dressed slowly that morning, putting on my favorite pink shalwar kameez and one of Banazir Bhutto's scarves. Then I stood up and spoke not just to the audience, but to every person around the world who could take courage from my words. Dear brothers and sisters, do remember one thing. Malala Day is not my day. Today is the day of every woman, every boy, and every girl who has raised their voice for their rights. Thousands of people have been killed by the terrorists, and millions have been injured. I am just one of them. So here I stand, one girl among many. I speak not for myself, but for all the girls and boys. I raise up my voice not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard, those who have fought for their rights to live in peace, their right to be treated with dignity, their right to equality of opportunity, their right to be educated. On the 9th of October 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullets would silence us, but they failed. And then, out of the silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought that they would change our aim and stop our ambition. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born. I am the same Malala. My ambitions are the same. My hopes are the same. My dreams are the same. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. As I heard the applause and took my seat, all I could think of was that I had come a long way from being Malala the toddler, giving lessons to the empty chairs at the Kushal school, or Malala the girl who gave speeches to the bathroom mirror. Somehow, by the grace of God, I really was speaking to millions of people. I had once asked God to make me taller. I have received that God has answered my prayers. I have realized that God has answered my prayers, making me as tall as the sky with the voice that can reach people everywhere. With my height, I have been given responsibility and a gift. The responsibility to make the world a more peaceful place, which I carry with me every moment of every day, and the gift to be able to do so. Peace in every home, every street, every village, every country. This is my dream. Education for every boy and every girl in the world. I am Malala. My world has changed, but I have not. The end. All right, boys and girls, I hope you think about this and all that she did and all that you do. All right, talk to y'all later. Bye.